You're someone with a vision for your practice, for your side hustle, and for your personal journey. But when it comes to establishing your path on how to get to where you want to be with your practice, things get a little messy. You're also someone who'd prefer to go in person instead of to groups and listening to everyone else's story. To me, it sounds like you could benefit from one-on-one consulting with our experienced practice of the practice consultants. From $5.95 a month and up, you can work with a consultant that will give you more direction and practical tried and tested tips matched to you and your goals. For more information, visit practiceofthepractice.com/apply. Again, that's practiceofthepractice.com/apply. This is the Practice of the Practice podcast with Joe Sanok, session number 1284. Welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast. I am Joe Sanok, your host, where we help you build a thriving private practice you absolutely love. We are so excited to have you here today, hanging out with us. Now, back in May of 2025, we put on the Group Practice Conference. And at this conference, I had this dream of putting on a conference that was unlike any other. I wanted the feeling to be like connections, that people had time to meet each other. I always hated conferences where the parts that I love the most, probably getting dinner with new people or having drinks at the end of the evening, that part was so small in the calendar. And I spent most of my time just running between breakout sessions and keynotes and all of that. And the other side of it was oftentimes it felt like I would be in a session and it'd be a 90-minute session. And I really only got about 10 to 20 minutes worth of content. There's a lot of fluff in there. It just felt like get to the point. And so for what we decided to do with the Group Practice Conference was we decided that we would have 20-minute sessions on the main stage, all of our keynotes, 20 minutes, and that we would have ample time for breakout sessions, and to have time to dig in, to talk about group practice, to get to know people, and to encourage people that if they're having a great conversation, keep that going. You don't have to come back in. Continue those conversations going. And so we found that the folks that came to the Group Practice Conference in May had such a great time. They felt emotionally connected to other group practice owners. And it was just such a great event that we've tripled the size for May of 2026. We're going to be over at Northwestern Michigan College, right on their campus. And we're partnering with both Headway and the Student Life Department to put this on. And our main stage is going to be where the actual TED Talks of Traverse City take place. And then all of our discussions and our kind of digging deeper sessions are going to be throughout an art gallery. It's going to be just such a fun, unique event that we're super excited about. And lots of you weren't able to make the Group Practice Conference in 2025. And so we want to give you just a little glimpse into that. So we're going to be doing a series every week for a while throughout the end of the year where those 20-minute main stage sessions, we're going to be playing those for you. We want you to be able to learn from all of our speakers that we had, and we want you to get excited for the Group Practice Conference in May 2026. So we want you to get excited for this over at grouppracticeconference.com. That's where you can be on the waiting list so that when tickets go live on Black Friday through Cyber Monday, you can grab your ticket. We want you to get those discounts that we have. We want you to get any of those kind of lowest priced tickets. We know they're going to sell out fast. All of our sponsors have committed to sending emails to their list. And, Headway alone, who is our co-host of this, along with the Student Life Department over at NMC, has 60,000 people on their email list that are part of Headway. So we expect the 300 or so tickets that we're offering to go quickly. So if this is something that you're interested in coming to Traverse City, we want to make sure you're on that wait list and ready to go on Black Friday so that you can get your ticket. We know they're going to go quickly. So head on over to grouppracticeconference.com and you can watch all the different things going on there and get on the wait list so that when that goes live, you get first access. So let's dive into this episode with some of our speakers from the Group Practice Conference in May 2025. I'm so excited in just a second to invite Ellen to the stage, looking ahead, positioning yourself for retirement and beyond. Ellen is someone who's been in our communities, has come to Slow Down School, has come to my house, is just an amazing person that travels the world. And she's probably going to talk a little bit about selling her practice. This is a woman that I am so proud of, that has done so many just amazing things to impact her community and beyond. So please give a warm welcome to Ellen.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much, guys, for doing that for me. There is a story behind that, and I'm going to tell you the story behind that before I get into talking about what I'm going to talk about. I only have sons. I'm going to say that in a moment, too. And I have this young woman in my life named Stacy, who is dearer than a daughter to me. And I adore her. And so today, she sent me this long text message just telling me what a badass I was and how I was going to do just great, and that she would never talk in front of a group of people, but she was really proud that I was. And she sent and she said, I'm sending you a walk-up song. And I was like, well, we're really not using walk-up songs. But then I looked at what it was, and that's what it was. And so I asked Claire and Miranda, could you make this happen? Just play enough so that people know that it's a sexy thing. And then I told my husband, and my husband was like, I don't know that that's appropriate. I was like, well, too bad. We're doing it now, right? So I'm obviously the old lady in the room, and I so appreciate what Joe said. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Joe. But you may be thinking, what is he thinking? This is about retirement, and most of you are nowhere near retirement. And I appreciate that, right? Obviously, I am. But I think he's thinking that he's really shepherded me through so much of my private practice, my group practice, selling my practice, thinking about the alternatives for what I'm going to do when I'm retired fully. And he's done such a great job with that. And so I think he's thinking that I have something to say. So hopefully I do, and hopefully this will be helpful for all of you. I do want to give a shout out to the staff of Practice of the Practice, because those people have done the most amazing job. And they are great, all of them. They have just rallied around me and everybody else here too. And it's just been really great. So I really want to give them a shout out. They are amazing people. I can't even imagine not having them in my life every day now. So this is my story, but it's also your future. And let me see how this works. Oh, there's one. I know this looks really old lady-ish, and I didn't realize that until I watched everybody else's. Sorry about that. Well, I'm kind of an old lady, so I guess that's kind of appropriate. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. Okay, so I'm an LMFT. I had a private practice. I had a group practice. I sold it in January 30th of this year, so we're still working through some of the things about that. I live in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, which is this tiny little town near Gettysburg, with my husband, who is a saint. I'm going to say that again, and he may be listening, so if he is listening, he is the best man in the world. I'm telling you. He really is a saint. I'm a jerk. He's a saint. We were joking about things before I came on, and he said, I said, I want to be funny, and I can't be funny, and there's nothing to be funny about. And he said, well, just tell him I'm a joke. And I was like, I would never do that, because you're such an amazing man. So I live there with my husband, my 2 English setters, who are the joy of my life, and my 2 millennial sons. So hopefully they're not listening. But my dream is to help people go through this retirement process in a way that isn't quite as arduous as mine was. I felt like I really had fits and starts and just didn't know what I was doing and didn't do any planning about it. Like I wanted to plan, but I didn't. And, you know, it's so easy to get lost in all the stuff that you're doing on a day-to-day basis and to forget that retirement is coming, and if you plan it, it will be more amazing, right? Raise your hand if you have done any concrete retirement planning that's not financial. Yay! Somebody has. There aren't a lot of people that do. There aren't a lot of people that do, and I'm grateful for those of you who have thought about it. That's a good thing, because the reality is that just like many things, if you don't shoot for something, you're not going to hit it. And the problem with retirement is that people don't think about it. They think about the finances. Incidentally, I'm completely incompetent at finances, so this is not about financial planning at all. This is about planning for a wonderful retirement. I was completely unprepared. I had a group practice that we had some things that were wrong. We did some things that were poor. When I sold it, we had a bunch of stuff we had to fix. As a good example, Google had my business email, but my personal business email, so Ellen at, as their email. That has been the biggest headache, and they're still charging me. So I'm kind of like, stupid little things like that. And when you have a group practice, you have to think about those things. And I appreciated what Dan said earlier, because he had some really good ideas about how to do that. Things I wish I would have heard before I did that. It was very hard to figure things out business-wise, but it's also hard to figure things out personally. You also have to give some thought to that, not just how you sell your practice, but also what do you want your life to look like? What is your definition of a life well lived? Can anybody tell me anything that they think would make their life well lived? It's not a hard question.
I'll say faithfully serving my generation.
Oh, that's an awesome thing. Okay. That's cool. Anybody else? Yeah. I'm with you.
Add that to mine.
I think a lot of people say that, and I think a lot of people do it, but I think there's also, I'll tell you a story a little later about someone that was a challenge. A lot of people don't. And again, if you don't plan it, you don't do it. So my husband and I have our travel planned out to 2027, and it's just, we're serious about it. And when we plan it, then we do it. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we plan something and we don't do it. And sometimes that costs us money, but, it's a good thing to do. It helps to chunk out your planning, too. You guys know this. It helps to chunk out everything that you're doing, any kind of planning that you're doing. It helps to chunk that out a little bit. And it also helps to explore a little bit. Go travel and see if you like it. A lot of people don't like international travel. They only want to travel domestically. That's okay. Whatever works for you is fine, right? My best friend had this idea. She was a professor, and she had this idea that she was going to go to the local animal shelter, and she was going to pet little kitty heads, and she was going to walk puppies, and she was going to do all that when she was retired. Well, she retired, and then she was bored. Like a couple years in, she's bored to death, and she says, I think I'm going to go back to that animal shelter. Guess what? They were full. They had just run a volunteer event, and they had so many volunteers they couldn't handle her. And she was like, oh my gosh. And I said to her, well, why didn't you go last year? Why didn't you go before you even retired and talk to them about it and just do volunteer, an hour a month or an hour every couple of months or something to just get your foot in the door? She's like, I didn't plan it. I didn't think about anything about it. That's the problem. So sometimes exploring a little bit is a good thing. Then you know what you like and you know what you don't. One of the things Joe really helped me with was I was doing this giant volunteer gig. It was taking hundreds of hours of my time. And I realized that I didn't really like it. I don't do it anymore. I do other things now. So that was a good thing to know, rather than getting into retirement and then having all of them being like, well, you're retired, so you can do more. No, I don't want to do it at all. Right? So it worked out really well for me.
Whether you're growing your team or running an established practice, Headway makes the business side easier with faster credentialing, higher per-session rates, and bi-weekly payments your team can count on. They work with therapy, psychiatric, and hybrid group practices. There are no subscription fees, just the support you need to run your practice with ease. Run your best group practice with Headway, trusted by thousands of group practice leaders to simplify insurance admin and reach more people through in-network care. Curious how Headway can work for you? Head to join.headway.co/Joe. That's join.headway.co/Joe to learn more.
Retirement is all more and less than you imagine. It's really not like a vacation that you wake up every morning and you're on vacation and everything's cool. It's really not like that. But on the other hand, if you plan it, you're also not going to die early and you're not going to be bored, right? Because it's very easy to go from being a group practice boss where you are in charge and you are busier than a whatever. Put in, insert metaphor here, because I know how busy that is and how overwhelming that is. And someday you stop doing that. And then what are you? What do you do, right? It's a big head tweak, let me tell you. It's very hard. Being a group practice boss like you guys, that is an amazing thing. And very few people do it, as other people have said. But it really, when you step out of that role, it's a little bit of a difficulty. It's not quite what you were before. One of the things that you have to do is you have to manage your social calendar. People don't think about that, but the professional relationships that you have now, they may or they may not continue. It's hard to know how that's going to happen until it actually does. The people that worked for me, I thought we would always be friends. And the reality is, I sold my practice on January 30th. I've heard from 2 of them out of 10. The whole time. I was very surprised. And so that probably tells me that really was not a relationship that's going to endure, right? Building those relationships ahead of time is very helpful. One of my other dear friends, Rosa, retired a long time ago, and she's a widow. And she learned pretty early on that she had to actually plan her social events, because if she didn't do it, she sat at home all by herself looking at her 4 walls and hoping that her kids would come and visit, right? So what she does, it's actually it's very clever, actually. She was a math professor, too. I don't know how she got to be so smart. But what she would do is she would say, Friday morning breakfast I have with some old colleagues from work, and Wednesday night before Bible study, I go to out to dinner with these people. I'm her Tuesday lunch, right? And she does that every week. She does the same kinds of things with the same people, or every month. And it's just a brilliant idea. Another thing is routines. It's fun to develop new routines, right? I have a really beautiful office that my husband and my sons prepared for me. And when I became mostly retired, I didn't say that, did I? I still have a couple of clients that are hanging on, so I still use this office for them. But I also am mostly retired, right? And this office is really gorgeous, and it has this really cushy chair in it. So one of my routines is that every morning I go up there with my cup of coffee, and I sit there and I read. That's a new routine. Most of you can't even imagine doing that. When Joe was talking yesterday about ideal times and so on, ideal days, that's my ideal day. I really enjoy doing that. Then there are those people who can help. My husband retired from a university, and he had a huge retirement party, and he has a pension, and he has all kinds of other things. Very few people in this room are going to have any of those things. Just so you know, when you sell your practice, a lot of times from other people, it's a big yawn. People don't understand the big step that is, and don't automatically equate it to actually retiring. And so a lot of times you have to kind of explain and manage those expectations for people because they don't get it. And then there are the things that don't work. These are things that can really derail your plans, right? There's a couple of them, debt and divorce, that you can do something about. The rest of them you really can't. I had a client when I was seeing a lot of clients who came to me because they had great retirement plans, and then the woman got Parkinson's. And so we sat down and we planned, what are you going to do? So right now she's still capable of going internationally. So we're going to travel internationally. Then when she gets a little bit more sick, we can travel domestically. And they finally got to the last stage of her life, which was, okay, she can go out in our Miata and have the wind in her hair. right? And she died while I was still seeing them as a couple. And the guy came to me and said, okay, now let's look at that list and let's decide what I'm going to do now for the rest of my life, now as a single guy. And then he moved to a retirement home. So I think he's probably he's a very good looking kind of young guy for a retirement home. Bet he's having a wonderful time. I would be surprised if he was not. This is the most important thing, that you want something that will help you to find meaning. That's what you're going for here. Everybody wants to know at the end of their life that they made a difference. And these are some questions that will help you to think about that. You should think about these questions now. There are some things that you can do in your practice. Obviously, you've heard a lot of them today that you can do in your practice that will give you a legacy. But there are also things that you could do personally that will give you a legacy. And it's important to think about those things rather than just to fall into retirement and not know where you're going. And now we come to the end. This is the uncomfortable part to talk about when you talk about retirement planning, because like Winston Churchill said, I'm kind of paraphrasing this, it may not be the beginning of the end, but it's the beginning of the end. And so if you're uncomfortable talking about it, that tells you something about what you need to do personally to get yourself emotionally and mentally ready for these last stages. But you can also do some planning here too, because it's good to know what you want and what you like and to communicate that to other people as well. I know that there are more important things that you probably are going to take from here than just retirement planning. But I want you to know that planning your retirement can make, not only is it fun, it's fun to talk about travel. It's fun to talk about the things that you might be able to do, making a difference for your generation. Those are important things and fun to talk about. And that's great. It's fun, but it's also really vital, because if you don't do it, you won't have the kind of retirement that you actually want to have. So I thank you for listening to me, and I challenge you to think about that statement. If I can help you in any way, I do have information here. I'm glad to talk to you about it. I do have a small thing going on called Retire and Thrive, and I'm helping people find wonderful retirements. So I hope that that's you, and whether we ever see each other again or not, I hope you have a fantastic retirement. Thank you all. I think I did it.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us and listening to our speakers from the Group Practice Conference 2025. We are so excited to have you join us there. Make sure you put on your calendars Black Friday. That's when tickets open up. We want to make sure that you grab that ticket right away. We are so excited to be hosting this here in Traverse City. We could not do this show without our amazing sponsors. And today, Headway is our sponsor. If you are looking for help running your practice and want the best group practice you can have, you're going to want to sign up with Headway. They are trusted by thousands of group practice leaders to simplify their insurance admin and reach more people through in-network care. If you're curious about how Headway can help work for you, head on over to join.headway.co/Joe. That's join.headway.co/Joe to learn more. Thank you for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Special thanks to the band Silence is Sexy for that intro music, and this podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the producers, the publishers, or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, or other professional information. If you want a professional, you should find one.